I think I had this on wrong. I think I had that plate on wrong and it was completely blocking one of those holes. See how this is not sticking? This was sticking way up. I had this plate on wrong. All right, let's try this again. I think I might have just had the fuel shut off. I still haven't figured out which direction that is on, so I'm gonna try it again. Yeah, I don't know. But see, when it did rev up, it sounded good. So I don't think it's motor related. I think it's still this carburetor. I'm kind of feeling pretty confident that if I invest in a carburetor for this thing, that it'll run perfectly fine. Thinking the float's not working properly and it's filling the bowl too high. I think that's the shut-off position, and when I keep it in the shut-off position, as it starts to burn down that fuel, the bowl lowers. Carburetor. Hey guys, check it out. Slow boat from China has arrived. And we have a brand spanking new carburetor. This is kind of interesting to me. This actually says designed in Japan. And they've got this logo, which is almost like a half-hearted ripoff of a Honda logo. Well, anyways. But, you know, this actually at first glance looks like a pretty decent knockoff of that carburetor. I don't recall the original having this drain, big drain like this in the bowl, which might not be a bad thing. But it's got the same kind of setup with the shutoff over here. You can really see that design, the intended design of this choke butterfly, how it basically supposed to just snap into a slot in this plastic shaft, and then by snapping into place, that's what keeps this shaft from being able to rise up out of the hole. So the only question mark I had, which was going to be kind of iffy, and I'll have to check it out when I get out there, was how close to the original design is this plastic molded monstrosity on top of the shaft for the throttle and the choke, because that's going to dictate just exactly whether or not I'm going to be able to just bolt this on, or if I'm going to have to do some modification to get the linkages to work correctly. Also in this kit, this was like $10 and like another buck or two shipping. It actually came with a hunk of replacement fuel line. This piece of replacement fuel line has absolutely no markings on it whatsoever. So good luck trying to identify whether or not this fuel is E10 compatible. This little cheesy fuel filter, and a packet of gaskets. Interesting. All right, so I'm thinking maybe we'll mosey on out there, throw this thing on, and see what happens. Well, the new carburetor was a perfect fit. All the linkages and everything matched up perfectly. Everything looks great. The gaskets that came with the carburetor weren't perfectly cut, but they're well enough, so we went with them. So three gaskets in the set because there's a spacer right here. So you get a gasket between the spacer and the head, and the spacer and the carburetor. So 2 gaskets here, and then 1 gasket goes in here. There was this big plate with a rubber coating on it in here. It seemed to be doing the job of the gasket, but I put the gasket in there also, so maybe that's redundant. I don't think that's going to cause a problem. So again, my throttle cable is still junk, but I should be able to do like I did before and just kind of, oh, wrong size screwdriver. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this bracket for the cable and just pull it over, and that will simulate the cable being pulled all the way up and should close the choke linkage. While I'm doing that, I'm going to open the shutoff valve to let fuel start to flow into the new carburetor. If we have any leaks, then it means there's a problem with the float in the new carburetor. Third tries the charm. All right, so if I pull this back to the max position, that's max throttle. When this plate touches this set screw, that's full throttle. And then if I pull it past that, I should see this choke linkage move. And there it is. So that's choke on, full throttle, which is the position for start. All right, gas has been on for a couple minutes. No signs of leakage. Let's try and start it. I figure if it starts, great. If it goes back to that weird put, not coming to full throttle, then I know that there's got to be something wrong with the valve train. I just checked and I still have spark, so let's cheat a little bit. Let's see what happens. again, let's give it some throttle. It's hot, so I should be able to start it with the choke off. See, that should start right up. That's baloney. Something's not right. Flywheel brake. It's got kind of a noise in the engine that doesn't sound right at low RPMs, but at full throttle either that noise is drowned out or it's not. I don't know, that could be piston slap, or it could be noise in the valve train. I just don't know whether or not it's worth bothering with, quite frankly. And truth be told, even with that noise, this thing could probably run like that for who knows how long and cut quite a few lawns. So I think what I'm going to do now is, I know it needs a throttle cable, and I know it needs the whatchamacallit, the Deadman's cable there, the flywheel brake ignition shutoff cable, Deadman's cable. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'll get it restarted, and I'll just check and see if the self-propelled drive works. If the self-propelled drive works, then I'll probably invest in the two other cables. It's starting to sound a lot better though. Oh, a lot of that low speed. Oh, there it is. Well, the drive, the self-propel doesn't work. Just wonderful. Hey, so this is funny. I just took this cover off one screw right here. Check out, see what's wrong with the drive, and here's the belt. Here's the pulley it's supposed to be riding in. Oh, why is it popping off? Yeah, that's actually working. Belt just garbage. Huh. Might just need a new drive belt. Well, before it starts raining, darkening up, looks like it's gonna rain. I think I'm gonna get this belt off so I can get a measurement. There's a lot of V-belt sources online that are a lot cheaper than getting like an OEM part numbered belt for this thing, I bet. I mean, I'll check it either way, but it's my experience in the past with belts. If you go to like vbeltsupply.com or one of those kind of places, they tend to have the best prices on belts. There you go. I think I can just feed this back through. I knew it was going to be a pain in the butt.